All right, so we are continuing on with arithmetic sequences. So this is going to be part 2. We're just going to look at a different type of question. It's a little bit harder than the ones we did here at 9 o'clock. All right, so example 1 here, we have if T5, which means our 5th term is 16, and our 15th term is 66. I want to know what the A and D are. So what's the first term and what's the common difference? Now, when I look at, and again, I'm going to be using my formula over here, my general term formula. When I look at T5 specifically, well, there's a couple of things that I know. Number one, I know that my N, my 5th term, is 5. T5, the 5th term, is 16. All right, but again, I don't know the A, and I don't know the D. All right, now, so if I substitute into my equation here, all right, just regarding the 5th term here, I have T5, so Tn, in this case T5 is 16, is equal to, I don't know the A, plus N minus 1. Well, N is 5, so minus 1 is 4, times the D, all right? So there's an equation. The problem with this equation is I can't solve for A and D because I only have one equation and I have 2 unknowns. I can't, when you're solving any equations, you gotta know everything but one thing. Don't have any luck there. Now, I'm gonna go over to my second piece of information, the T15, which again means our 15th term we're talking about here now. And again, I'm gonna take this information here, that the N, we're talking about the 15th term. I know that T15 is 66. I'm going to sub that information into my general term formula, just like I did here. And so I end up with my T15 is 66 is equal to A plus N minus 1. Well, we're talking about the 15th term here, so N minus 1 would be 14. 15 minus 1. And again, I don't know the D. Again, I have an equation, but I don't know everything but one thing. I'm missing out here. But here's what we do have. We have 2 equations with 2 unknowns. And so what we're able to do is solve the systems of equation just like you did in grade 10 math. So I'm actually going to move this second equation over here. Just rewrite it. And what I'm looking at is by solving by substitution or elimination. Now, the easiest one, and generally always will be, is to use elimination. And that's why I wrote these equations on top of each other. Because with elimination, again, this is hopefully a review of grade 10, but again, I 2020, I don't know what happened there. I need the coefficient in front of one of my variables to match up, which means the same number. Now, I got a 4 and 14 here. That's not happening. But I do have a 1a here, and I have a 1a down here. And because the coefficients match up, I can do elimination much easier. And so with elimination, I understand this may be a review here. I am going to subtract these 2 equations. And so when I take 16 and I subtract 66, so here's what I'm going to do with elimination, by the way. I'll back it up a bit. I'm going to subtract the numbers. I'm going to subtract the A's, and I'm going to subtract the D's. All right, and so 16 minus 66, that is a minus 50. Then I have, because now I have an equal sign, so now I have 1a minus 1a. 1a minus 1a is 0 a's. It's been eliminated. Again, why they call this elimination. So we have no a's there. I'll just put a little slash there. But then I got to do the d's, where I have 4d subtract 14d. That's a minus 10d. Now, because I've done elimination, I have one equation, one unknown, which I can solve. That's just a simple math equation. All right, so I have this minus 50 is equal to negative 10d. And again, to get d by itself, I'm going to divide by the numerical coefficient. So those divide each other out. And it looks like my d value is going to be negative 50 divided by negative 10. Negative divided by negative is positive. And it looks like my d is 5. The difference between my terms is 5. But again, I also want to know what the first term is. All right, so here's what I can do now. Is now that I know the d, I can substitute it into one of these equations, either one or two, and I get my A value. Now I'm going to pick equation number 1 because of smaller numbers. Does it matter? No. It's going to be the same A because they're part of the same sequence. All right, so I'm going to substitute in D equals 5, because that's what I know, into equation number 1. All right, so here's our equation number 1 here. So therefore, I have 16 is equal to an A, or 1A, however you want to look at it, plus 4 times the difference. So plus 4 times our D, which now we know, which is 5. And again, because we've done elimination, we have one equation, one unknown. I can solve it. All right, so I just have 16 is equal to A. 4 times 5 is 20. All right, I'm almost there. Let's move the 20 over to the other side. And again, it's going to become negative. Change the side, change the sign. And 16 minus 20 is a minus 4. And so I have found my A value and my D value. So the first term of this sequence is minus 4, and then we keep adding 5 as we go from term to term. All right, so again, a little bit of review of solving systems of equations. Hopefully a review, hopefully. All right, let's try one more of those. Again, a lot more complicated than the ones we did at 9 o'clock here today. More involved. Okay, next up, example 2. We got 2 this time out because we're going to do the same thing. All right, so this time again, we're trying to find A and D. We have the T7, our 7th term, is equal to 26. And we have our other term here, which is the 34th term. T34 is equal to 242. All right, again, I'll throw it down here. Find A and D. That's what we're trying to find here. All right, so each of these pieces of information are going to give me an equation. All right, so I work with the T7 term here. Now, T7, again, I'm going to use my general term formula here. T7, I know is 26. Equals. All right, again, I do not know the first term of this sequence. I am looking specifically at this term right here to come up with this first equation. All right, n is 7 because we're looking at the 7th term here. So my formula here of n minus 1, well, 7 minus 1 is 6. So there's my first equation. It's T7 is 26. I don't know the A, I don't know the D, and here's my n minus 1. Because it's a 7 minus 1, we get the 6. So there's my first equation. Let me see here. My second equation, again, we have T34. So my Tn here, my 34th term, is 242. Right? Again, we don't know the A. Plus, now again, this is where my second equation is coming from, right here. Our n value, we're looking at the 34th term. So when I do the n minus 1, I have 34 minus 1, which is 33, and we have a D. All right. So again, I'm going to use elimination this time out. I'm going to move the first equation underneath here. So we'll go like this. So I'm just copying this first equation under the second one. And so I have 26 is equal to A plus 6D. All right. Now, again, it's best to always use elimination because you always have a coefficient of A. It's always the same, right? So they're lined up. So again, I'm going to subtract these two equations, which again means I'm going to subtract the numbers, subtract the A's, and subtract the D's. And here's my equal signs right here in the middle. So I take 242, subtract 26. That's going to be 200 and something. Let's see here. I don't want to mess it up. It's 216. All right. Now I get to my A. So 1A minus 1A. Again, the reason it's called elimination, because there's no A's left. It's gone. All right, and then I go 33D minus 6D. I know that's going to be a positive 27D. There we go. And there we go. Because I've done elimination now I'm down to one equation, one unknown. All right, so I have this 216 is equal to 27D. If I want to find the difference, again, I'm going to divide each side by my numerical coefficient here of 27. And I get D is equal to, let's see here, 216 divided by 27. This time I'm getting 8. All right, so again, the final move, I can substitute that D value into one of these equations. It doesn't matter which one. Again, I'm going to go number 1 here because it's smaller numbers. That's all. All right, so I'm going to, might as well do it right here, sub D, our difference of 8, into equation number 1, and that's how we're going to find our A value. All right, so I have a 26 here. We don't know the A, right? That's what we're trying to find out. Plus 6 times my D value. Oh, I know my D now is 8. Okay, now it's just the math. So I take 26 equals A. 6 times 8 I know is 48. All right, and then lastly, get A by itself. So I'm going to move that 48 over to the other side. So again, it's going to become a negative 48. It's going to be a minus 22, I think. Let's see here. Take 26 minus 48. That's my A value. I believe it's minus 22. Just going to double check that. A little Monday morning here. Yeah, it is minus 22. And so now I know my A value, and already before I found my B value. So there's where my sequence starts, and then it increases by 8 each time. And again, that's just a little bit of review of solving systems of equations, but we're doing it in terms of arithmetic sequences.